jumped in and started going real life every weekend. And so early December, we got our very first positive pregnancy test, which was super exciting in the moment. But then it was followed less than a week later, I had a very early miscarriage. Then in January, we start hearing this buzz about community groups and how wonderful they are and what all they can do for us and that kind of thing. And I think as soon as we heard about it, it was like, okay, we're really being sold on these, but this doesn't sound like Madison and John or something we would do whatsoever. It seemed very, very out of our comfort zone. Like, I feel like we needed to do it, but we were just like, ugh, the weekly time commitment, all these things. So we did come to that conclusion that day. We said, okay, we're going to sign up and see what it's about, but we are not going to share our life story with strangers.
Being hurt by church, I, again, was of the mindset is I'm a believer and I can have a relationship with Christ and not be, have to be at church every Sunday. And so I had that anxiety, and also I didn't want, again, to commit my time to that every Sunday, committing to being at church at 8:30 in the morning and all those types of things. But the biggest thing for me is, I know a lot of other guys especially, you don't want to put yourself in a vulnerable situation.
But then it was funny, so when the time rolled around, I guess it was about late January when they started that year, and we go to our first community group meeting. And so actually the week prior to that, I received another positive pregnancy test. So I was pregnant again. And our very first community group night, I was about 6 weeks along. And I think at that time, like, it felt like God had wrote this beautiful story of our lives, how we had struggled, we had lost one pregnancy. And so it just seemed like this beautiful story of, okay, we're in church, we signed up for a community group, we're doing all the right things. Okay, I'm pregnant again. And I know like both of us had envisioned, obviously no one knew that at the point I was 6 weeks pregnant. Like, we envisioned later in the spring getting to celebrate our news with our community group and that kind of thing. So it just seemed at the time that this beautiful story.
It was all flowing.
Yeah, flowing so well, and just life was so good. It just seemed like God had written this beautiful story, but he wasn't quite done working on us at that point. He had a little more work to do, apparently, because then it was about a few weeks later, we went to our first appointment, which should be really exciting. And we did. We went in and they pulled the ultrasound, and as soon as the picture went up there, I think John and I both immediately knew something wasn't right. And it was quickly followed by being told that there was no heartbeat. Following Tuesday night, we turned to our community group, and at the end of it, we just absolutely poured out our hearts, poured out our pain, and they were there to love on us, to care for us, to pray over us, and we're just there in every single way that we had no idea we would need in that moment. It was a totally different emotion and feeling that God has us, and God is going to work good, and God is going to bring us good things, and He's going to provide and take care of us however this goes. And so, we were praying so much for it to be good and a different outcome, but it was such a sense of peace and relief that we had, knowing that we weren't finally.
We didn't have to be in control.
It was finally had released the situation, and even better yet, it was a different outcome. And we get to hold literally our answered prayer in a beautiful 7-month-old little girl. But looking back, he blessed us with her, which has been by far the greatest blessing in our life. And to physically get to hold an answered prayer is kind of absolutely surreal to this day. But he gave us even so much more in that walk and in that season. If you're really hesitant about a community group, I just recommend that you give it a try. Whether you have to go, and you don't have to, you may not open up the first week, and I'm not gonna lie, first week is a little awkward. You're with strangers. Like we said, we weren't gonna share our life story with strangers, and you do start out as strangers, but just be open to the process and be open to what God has in store for you and what He has planned to work in your life. Because we had no idea the plan that He had for us to live in community. So just be open to it.